What's up, everybody? This is Justin Flinner coming to you live from Northern Virginia with the Justin Flinner Podcast by My Mentor Medicine. I want to thank you for tuning into today's podcast. I know you wouldn't be here if there wasn't something that you were searching for, something that you were hoping to get out of this podcast today. And if you are one of our many regular listeners and you want to share your gratitude with us, you can. You can go directly to our site, our podcast on anchor.fm. And you can find the Justin Flinner Podcast, and you can make a small contribution. And you can help us to reach millions of people in the world so that we can continue to change lives across the world together. We're in this with you, and we're glad to have you here with us. So thank you again so much for tuning in each week to the Justin Flinner Podcast. And now, for this week's podcast. We hope you enjoy it. Thanks again. As always, I want to start this week's podcast off with a question. And this week's question is, what is one thing that you do, and you know you do, really, really well? What do you love about it, and why? It could be anything from a sport to a small hobby that you like to do. Maybe it's drawing, maybe it's building model airplanes, maybe it's writing, maybe it's making a podcast just like this. Whatever that thing is that you do really, really well, that skill that you have, that you know that nobody else can do it just like you. All of the things that we love to do in our life requires our body to be present. Again, if it's a sport that you love to do, your body needs to be in the best shape possible so that you can, if you're a golfer, you can swing the clubs the best of your ability. If you're a basketball player, you have the agility, the wherewithal to move across the court in a strategic way and make the effortless shots every single time. The thing that you do really, really well always requires your body to be in the best shape, the absolute healthiest state it possibly can be in. That's why the name of this week's podcast is Sit Well, Stand Well, Move Well. So what's the first position that you get into every single day? Okay, aside from smacking your alarm clock to death to make it shut up so that you can get an extra second of sleep, eventually you'll get into a sitting position on the edge of your bed. And from that position, maybe you do a little stretch, reach down, touch your toes, and then get into a standing position, reach up, touch the ceiling, and then you move on with the rest of your day. So we sit well, we stand well, we move well. Well, maybe it's not well yet. In order to move through your day, in order to be good at the things that you are good at and even keep improving, you have to make sure that your body is in the healthiest state as possible. So from a sitting position, if this is where we're going to start our day, let's start this podcast by focusing on that. So when you are in a sitting position, perhaps you are right now. Perhaps you're sitting in a chair. Perhaps you're sitting in a car, driving or riding with a passenger listening to this podcast. If you're driving, then be careful. Keep your eyes on the road. Don't lose focus. But also try to stay focused to the words that I'm saying. In your sitting position, I want you to take notice as to where your body is. Now, that may seem obvious. Of course, you're sitting in a chair or on a sofa or wherever you might be. You're in a sitting position. That is obvious. Starting from your head down to your toes, though, how is the position of your head? Is the crown of your head raised up? Do you feel as though you're sitting tall? Is your back all the way against the back of the seat? Okay, and maybe in a leaning position. Maybe you're sort of leaning backwards with yourself lounging in that chair, getting comfortable. Or do you feel yourself all the way back against that chair, that seat, and your head raised high all the way through the crown of your head? Your shoulders, your upper body, where is it placed? Do you feel your chest open, or do you feel your shoulders rolling forward to close yourself off? Do you feel your back pushing hard into that seat as if you're arching forward and crushing your lungs in front of you? Moving downward into your hips, how are they placed? Do you feel your legs, okay? If you're driving a car, chances are right now your legs are opened out to the sides. You let your knees fall to the sides. Maybe your left knee is resting against the door. Your right knee is resting against the center console of the vehicle. If that's the case, you're letting your hips be a little bit too relaxed. You want to bring those knees in a little bit. Now, if you're driving for a long period of time, of course, you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to find a comfortable position, take rest, get out of the car, move around a little bit. But just in a sitting position right now, I want you to observe where you're placing your body. Your knees and even your feet. Are your feet in line with your legs? Are your toes in line with your legs? Sitting position is very important, especially if you are a driver that is driving thousands of miles a week, or if you're in an office job and you're sitting in a chair from hour after hour after hour after hour. And then what happens after that? You get up, you leave work, you go to another vehicle, you sit in that vehicle for however long it takes you to get home. You get up, you walk out of that vehicle and into your house. Then eventually what do? Change your clothes, you sit down for dinner. Sitting again. You get up, you go, get a shower, brush your teeth, come back downstairs, sit on the sofa. Sitting, sitting, sitting. That's why the new disease is the sitting disease. So if we're going to be sitting for the majority of the day, which by itself is not that healthy of a practice, we need to be up and moving. But that's a whole other topic. We're just talking about posture right now in the sitting position. You need to make sure that your posture in that sitting position is of the most efficient position possible, from your head all the way down to your feet. So if you are in a chair and you're not driving a vehicle right now, if you're in a chair or in a car seat, I want you to feel yourself raise through the crown of your head as if someone is pulling you up towards the top of that car, or towards the ceiling of the room you're sitting in, or towards the sky if you're sitting outdoors on a park bench perhaps. Feel your head raising up. As you raise your head, I want you to gently tuck in your chin. Don't constrict your neck, just pull it in gently. When you pull your chin in and you raise up your head, what happens is you open up your cervical spine. And then another thing that you can do is just gently pull your shoulders back. Open the chest, feel the back expand along with your chest, so you're opening your entire torso. Your abdomen, gently contract. Okay. When you do this, what happens is your lower back is no longer pushing against the chair behind you. It actually pulls away from it slightly. And you may actually feel the urge to come towards the front edge of the seat. In this case, you're actually conserving your energy and not allowing it to just flood every which direction, and letting the seat sort of cradle you and caress you into the most comfortable position possible. By allowing your spine to be erect, you're actually activating the muscles around it to help protect it and keep it in a good state of health. Your sit bones, as some people call them, the bones of your pelvis that are resting on the seat, those bones, as they make contact, should be right underneath your shoulders, unless, of course, you're in a seat that's a little bit reclined backwards. Still feel through the top of your head as though your body is being pulled upward, and then all the way down through those sits bones. Into your legs, feel your feet flat on the floor, and make sure your knees are directly in front of you. Don't let your legs splay out to the sides. Keep them right in front of you. Keep the energy moving through your legs, through your knees, down through your feet, into the floor. This is a basic way for you to get into a decent sitting position, one that will allow you to maintain good posture. So if the thing that you do well involves the position or posture of sitting, perhaps it's playing the piano, perhaps it's maybe another instrument that you play while sitting, maybe it's a guitar, maybe it's another instrument. By playing the piano, of course, you need to have the best posture possible. You need to have your hands in the proper position. You need to have your head in the proper position. And you need to be sitting properly on the chair. One foot on the pedal, another foot on the floor, keeping balance as well as keeping good posture. As you move up and down the keys, your posture can change. It will follow how you move. So these are the basics of the sitting position. Now, if we can sit well, then we must also learn to stand well. So standing is very similar to sitting, of course. You're just raising your body up a little bit and supporting all of your weight yourself. With your head raised up towards the ceiling or raised up towards the sky, same idea, raise through the crown of your head and gently tuck your chin. So if you are right now walking down the street, or if you're standing in line somewhere, or maybe you're in a gym listening to this podcast, this is a great time to fix your posture. Between your exercises, take a little break, look in the mirror, examine how you're standing, and feel the crown of your head raise up to the ceiling. Feel your chin tuck in. Feel your shoulders go a little bit up, push them a little bit back, and then rest them down gently. They should be right underneath your ears. Your chest will feel open. Your back will also feel open. And as you gently tuck your abdomen, you will feel a good amount of support all the way around from your belly button to your lower back. Your pelvis can be tucked just underneath you, as though you feel a weight hanging from your tailbone down towards the ground, and allowing that weight to hang right between your feet, with your toes pointing forward, your knees in alignment also with the rest of your body pointing forward, and your feet about shoulder width. Everybody's body is a different size. So when I say shoulder width, I mean your shoulder width. I don't mean anybody else's shoulder width. Whenever we take steps, our steps are going to be different lengths. Our stances are going to be different widths. Our posture is going to feel a little bit different than it may look on another individual. But if you follow the instructions that I am giving you, I guarantee you that your posture will improve little by little by little by little. Rehearse it. Practice it. Look in the mirror every single time. Check your head, check your shoulders, check your torso, check your hips, check your legs. Look down at your feet. Essentially, your feet should point in the direction you're going to move. So if you're walking down the street and you see your feet pointing out to the sides, pointing out to the corners, but yet you're still moving forward, you don't really have that much surface area of your foot pushing off in the direction that you want to go. You're pushing off at an angle. And that, in turn, can lead to issues in your knees, in your hips, in your ankles, all over your lower body. So standing well moves directly into moving well. So moving is just all of the things I mentioned before, but put directly into motion. Again, if you're walking forward, your feet should be pointing in the direction that you are moving. So before you even start to move, before you take your first step, look down at your feet. Where are they pointing? They should be pointing forwards, in line with your hips, in line with your shoulders, in line with your entire body, ready to push off and move at any second. One of the biggest reasons people get injured when they age is because of falling. Our gait changes, the length of our steps, the width of our step, the amount of force that we have, the amount of tension that we have inside of our body because of the fear inside that we might fall, we might get hurt, we might get injured. If we maintain a healthy stance, if we maintain a healthy step by studying the principles of sitting well, standing well, and moving well, then our risk for falling will virtually be erased. Not completely, because there's always that risk, a minor risk, but we won't be at such a high risk anymore. So if you start now and you allow yourself to move from whatever position you do the thing that you know you do really well, whether it's playing the piano, whether it's running, whether it's golfing, whether it's singing, any position your body is required to be in will help you to improve the thing that you do well. If you sit well and you can relax in that position, The quality of your piano playing will be fantastic. You will learn to feel the music like you have never felt it before. Imagine if you watched someone who was so hunched over when they were playing the piano that it almost looked as though they were depressed. The position, if I asked you to put yourself in a depressed position with that kind of emotion resonating inside of you and building inside of you, you would immediately move to probably a head forward, shoulders rolled forward, your back arched, leaning forward, probably looking downwards. A little hard to breathe. Maybe an exhale is let out, and you just sort of sink into the chair. And it's almost as though someone lit open the floodgates and the energy is just draining out from beneath you. A slight change from this position, just by imagining someone pulling your hair up towards the ceiling and lifting you up, waking you up from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, feeling that circulation start again, and then sitting at the piano bench right then and there, putting your fingers on the keys, taking a deep breath into your abdomen. As you exhale, you start to play your masterpiece. Or if you're standing, whatever it might be, perhaps you are singing on stage with that person playing the piano. You're up there, you're standing with a mic in your hand, but again, you have this state of fear on your face. Your eyes are wide, you sort of freeze, your shoulders lifting up towards your ears, you're rounding forward, you're not quite sure what to do, your breath becomes shorter and shallower into your chest. You forget that you can actually breathe into your abdomen. Your lower back just starts to protrude out behind you. Why? Because it's trying to lead you off stage. Your feet become a little bit unstable. They start to pull together. All of these positions, all you have to do is change your posture, change your position. It's like these power postures that people talk about. Before you go into a job interview, for example, you run off into the bathroom, do your thing, and then you stand in there with your legs as wide as possible, your arms reaching out to the sides as far as possible, open your fingers as wide as possible, open your entire body, open up as much as you possibly can, and start to let things flow. Now, you don't have to do that quite of an extreme if you're on stage and you're trying to sing and perform, but if you are in a standing position for whatever it is that you are good at, maybe it is presenting, maybe it's standing in front of an audience, giving a speech, maybe that's the one thing you love to do. Check your posture, because your posture will also determine how well others receive your message. If they know that, oh, this guy's a great speaker, but he walks like a duck, examine how you move, because that's the next stage, because you will have to be moving in whatever thing that is that you're good at eventually, right? From a sitting position to moving up and down the keyboard, from a standing position to side to side across the stage, out into the audience. If you are moving, how do you move? How is your intention when you're moving? This is a whole other aspect of posture. We have physical posture, and then we have mental posture. We'll save that for another podcast. But moving well requires you to maintain the principles of sitting well and standing well as you put yourself into motion. So the next time you find yourself doing the thing that you do super well, the thing that you know that you are absolutely amazing at, before you begin it, look at your posture. How do you sit? How do you stand? And then how do you move? If you're not sure how to apply it into the thing that you do really well, or if you're not really confident of one thing that you do really well, then the next morning when you wake up and you sit on the edge of your bed, think of these aspects of sitting. Raise the crown of your head, tuck your chin, roll your shoulders back, feel your pelvis resting neutrally on the mattress. Feel your feet flat on the floor with your toes pointed forward. And then close your eyes and just see how this feels inside of you. And then move into a standing position, maintaining the same principles, and then walk to where it is that you have to go next, out into your day. By changing your posture, you can change how you think. You can change how you feel. And as I demonstrated earlier, for the person who is up on stage giving a speech, moving from this fearful position into a confident position. Just by changing your posture, that is all that it takes. You put your body into a position that allows you to move freely and comfortably, even though mentally you might have a little bit of fear or some other sensation that's going on inside of you that prevents you from relaxing 100%. At least your body will be in a position that you know will serve what it is that you need to do next. So remember, sit well, stand well, and move well. Your health and your life depends on it. Because this is the only body that you get. It has been gifted to you. Because if you don't start taking care of your body now, trust me, it's going to start talking back to you later on in life. All those aches and pains are going to come up, and you're going to wish that you would listen to me. So, again, I urge you, sit well, stand well, and move well. I thank you for listening to the Justin Flinto podcast, and I look forward to having you back here next week. Take care, everyone, and have an awesome day. This podcast is brought to you by My Mentor Medicine, an organization that is dedicated to helping people improve their lives by learning to empower themselves and take control of their own life. Any form of reproduction or distribution of this podcast is strictly prohibited. Should you have any questions on using this podcast or information that is contained within this podcast, please write to info@mymentormedicine.com.